It's exciting. I'm hoping for something very substantial in the garden shaft. This is where the treasure hunt actually begins.
What if one of history's greatest lost treasures was never truly lost, but secretly carried thousands of miles across the ocean and hidden on a mysterious island off the coast of Nova Scotia? For centuries, the Ark of the Covenant has remained one of the world's greatest biblical mysteries. Its disappearance after the fall of Jerusalem has sparked countless theories, from secret chambers beneath the Holy Land to ancient journeys across the world. But now, Oak Island has added a startling new possibility to the story. Mysterious underground structures, unexplained symbols, ancient artifacts, and clues buried beneath the island have raised a question that sounds almost impossible. Could Oak Island hold a forgotten connection to the Ark of the Covenant? Is this the breakthrough that could rewrite one of history's greatest mysteries? Or are we looking at another fascinating theory born from Oak Island's endless secrets? In this video, we'll examine the clues, uncover the theories, and separate what is actually documented from what remains speculation. And if you love ancient mysteries, lost treasures, and discoveries that challenge what we think we know, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because you won't want to miss what we uncover next. The mystery begins now. The Ark was more than a sacred object. It represented the covenant between God and the people of Israel and was considered the most holy possession in ancient Israelite religion. It was placed inside the Holy of Holies within Solomon's temple in Jerusalem, a chamber so sacred that only the high priest could enter, and even he was permitted to do so only once a year. Ancient writings portrayed the Ark as a powerful symbol of God's presence, giving it an extraordinary place in religious history. But then, the historical trail suddenly goes cold. In 586 BC, Babylon conquered Jerusalem, and sometime around that catastrophe, the Ark of the Covenant vanished from the historical record. For thousands of years, people have searched for answers, yet no archaeological discovery has ever been universally verified as the missing Ark. That uncertainty created countless theories. Some believe the Ark was concealed somewhere beneath Jerusalem before the Babylonian invasion. Others claim it was transported to Ethiopia, where religious tradition maintains that it remains under the protection of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Another possibility is that the Ark was destroyed during the conquest. And some theories suggest that it was deliberately taken somewhere unknown, so it could never fall into the hands of an invading army. Whatever the truth may be, the disappearance of the Ark has continued to fascinate historians, archaeologists, explorers, and treasure hunters for generations. But one theory takes the mystery much farther than Jerusalem. What if the trail of the Ark eventually led across the Atlantic to a small, mysterious island off the coast of Nova Scotia? That brings us to Oak Island. Why Oak Island became connected to the Ark. Mystery. At first, there seems to be absolutely no relationship between Oak Island and the Ark of the Covenant. Oak Island is a small island in Nova Scotia, Canada, famous for more than 2 centuries of treasure hunting and unexplained discoveries. The Ark, meanwhile, is an ancient biblical artifact that disappeared from history more than 2,500 years ago. So why have some researchers connected these two completely different mysteries? The theory comes from a mixture of unusual discoveries, historical speculation, and one of the most controversial ideas surrounding Oak Island. For over 2 centuries, explorers have reported finding unusual features beneath the island, including deep shafts, stone structures, wooden platforms appearing at different depths, possible tunnels, and artifacts whose origins remain disputed. Every unexpected discovery has raised the same basic question. Was Oak Island deliberately used to conceal something of extraordinary value? As researchers searched for an explanation, another legendary group entered the story: the Knights Templar. The medieval military order has long been associated with stories of secret knowledge, hidden wealth, and mysterious religious artifacts. Although there is no confirmed historical evidence proving that the Templars ever reached Oak Island, some researchers have suggested that members of the order could have carried valuable religious objects across the Atlantic centuries before Columbus. And that is where the theory becomes extraordinary. If the Templars really did possess sacred artifacts connected to Jerusalem, could the Ark of the Covenant, or another object associated with it, have been among the treasures they transported? Supporters of this idea point to unusual symbols, similarities between certain stone carvings, and historical coincidences that they believe deserve further investigation. But there is an important distinction to make. These connections remain theories. They have not been established as historical fact, and mainstream archaeology has not confirmed a link between the Knights Templar, Oak Island, and the Ark of the Covenant. The television series The Curse of Oak Island has nevertheless explored many of these possibilities, bringing the theories to millions of viewers and keeping the debate alive. So far, no discovery has conclusively demonstrated that the Ark was ever on Oak Island. Yet the mystery refuses to disappear. Every excavation, every strange structure, and every unexpected artifact creates another opportunity to ask the same question. Are these simply unrelated discoveries that have been connected after the fact? Or could they represent scattered pieces of a much larger story that has remained hidden for centuries? To get closer to an answer, we need to look at the discoveries on Oak Island that supporters of the Ark theory consider the most compelling. The discoveries behind the Ark of the Covenant theory. If Oak Island truly has any connection to the Ark of the Covenant, that connection would have to be supported by evidence, or at least by discoveries that can explain why the theory became so popular in the first place. Over the years, researchers, archaeologists, treasure hunters, and the Oak Island team have uncovered a collection of unusual features that continue to generate debate. Among the most frequently discussed are the ancient-looking stone structures discovered in different areas of the island. Some researchers believe certain formations appear too organized and deliberate to be explained entirely by natural processes. Stone pathways, possible foundations, and other unusual arrangements have all contributed to the idea that people may have carried out extensive construction work on the island long before modern treasure hunters arrived. But what exactly are these structures? Who built them? When were they constructed? And most importantly, what purpose could they have served? These questions are at the heart of the Oak Island mystery, and they may be the key to understanding why some researchers believe the island could be connected to a much older story than anyone initially imagined. These unusual, engineered-looking features have led some researchers to wonder whether highly skilled builders may have worked on Oak Island centuries ago. But there is still no clear agreement among experts about when these structures were created, or even whether they were deliberately constructed by people. Another major mystery lies beneath the island. Excavations have uncovered wooden platforms at various depths, possible tunnel systems, and what appear to be remarkably complicated flood control features. If these structures were intentionally designed, they would suggest that whoever built them invested tremendous amounts of time, manpower, and planning into protecting something buried underground. Then there are the artifacts. Over the years, excavations have produced objects such as old coins, metal fragments, pottery pieces, tools, and other historical materials. None of these finds can be directly identified as the Ark of the Covenant, but some have been assigned dates that continue to generate questions and encourage researchers to keep looking. Supporters of the ark theory also draw attention to carvings, markings, and symbols reportedly discovered on or around the island. Some believe certain designs resemble imagery connected with medieval traditions and, in particular, the legends surrounding the Knights Templar. Skeptics, however, see the situation very differently. They argue that many of these supposed connections depend heavily on interpretation and lack the kind of independently verified historical evidence needed to establish a genuine link. And perhaps the biggest mystery isn't what Oak Island has revealed. It's what it still hasn't revealed. After more than 2 centuries of excavation, researchers have yet to uncover a confirmed treasure vault, an unmistakable collection of priceless religious artifacts, or anything that can be directly connected to the Ark of the Covenant. Instead, every new discovery seems to solve one mystery while opening several more. And that may be the real reason Oak Island continues to fascinate millions of people. Every stone, every artifact, and every strange underground feature adds another piece to a puzzle that remains stubbornly incomplete. But if the physical evidence hasn't provided a definitive answer, another question becomes impossible to ignore. Where did the ark theory come from in the first place? To understand that, we have to turn to one of the most famous legends associated with Oak Island, the Knights Templar, and explore why some believe they could provide the missing connection between ancient Jerusalem and this remote Canadian island. The Knights Templar. Could they be the missing link? Few theories have captured the imagination, quite like the idea that the Knights Templar could somehow connect Oak Island with the Ark of the Covenant. The Templars emerged in the early 12th century as a military and religious order dedicated to protecting Christian pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land. Over the following decades, they grew into one of medieval Europe's most powerful and wealthy organizations, establishing an impressive network of castles, churches, estates, and financial operations across the continent. But their military achievements aren't what made them part of the Oak Island mystery. The real fascination centers on what they may or may not have discovered beneath Jerusalem. According to legend, the Templars conducted excavations beneath the Temple Mount, the site traditionally associated with the ancient Temple of Solomon. Historical records do confirm that the Knights Templar occupied the area. What those records do not establish is exactly what the Templars discovered there, if anything. That uncertainty created a perfect opening for speculation. Some researchers have proposed that the Templars may have uncovered ancient manuscripts, sacred relics, hidden treasures, or even the legendary Ark of the Covenant itself. If they had discovered something of that magnitude, supporters of the theory argue, secrecy would have been essential. Then came one of the most dramatic moments in Templar history. In 1307, King Philip IV of France ordered the arrest of members of the order. The Templars were accused of heresy and other serious offenses. Many were imprisoned, while others were executed, and the order's properties and wealth were confiscated. But one question has continued to haunt historians and treasure hunters. What happened to everything the Templars managed to hide before their downfall? Historical accounts indicate that some Templar ships disappeared around the time of the arrests. Their ultimate destinations remain uncertain, and that uncertainty has inspired generations of theories. One of the most extraordinary claims suggests that some of these ships may have crossed the Atlantic centuries before Christopher Columbus, transporting valuable treasures and religious relics to a secret location. And this is where the story brings us back to Oak Island. Supporters argue that the island's complex underground features would have provided an ideal place to conceal something considered immensely valuable or important. They also point toward unusual symbols, supposed architectural parallels, and artifacts found during excavations, interpreting them as possible indications of a Templar connection. But there is an important line between an intriguing theory and established history. So far, no archaeological evidence has conclusively demonstrated that the Knights Templar reached North America. There is also no verified evidence proving that the Templars ever possessed the Ark of the Covenant. For now, both ideas remain hypotheses rather than historical facts. Yet the Templar theory refuses to disappear. It remains one of the most fascinating chapters of the Oak Island mystery because, if the island's underground systems were deliberately constructed as a hiding place, the Templars could theoretically provide an explanation for why such an extraordinary amount of effort might have been invested. But the Knights Templar are only one part of the story. The next clue comes from a series of mysterious discoveries that may take this investigation in an entirely different direction. The mysterious symbols and ancient clues. If the Ark of the Covenant was ever concealed on Oak Island, hiding it would likely have required more than tunnels, shafts, and underground chambers. Some researchers believe the most important clues may actually be found above ground, in the strange symbols, carvings, and possible codes scattered throughout the island. One of the most famous stories involves the legendary 90-foot stone. According to historical accounts, early treasure hunters claimed to have discovered a large stone deep within the original money pit. The stone was said to contain unusual markings that appeared unlike anything they had encountered before. Years later, those markings were reportedly interpreted as a message claiming that 40 feet below, 2 million pounds are buried. If that account is accurate, the implications would be enormous. It could suggest that the stone was intentionally positioned as a marker, directing whoever found it toward something valuable hidden deeper underground. But there is a major problem. The original stone has never been conclusively authenticated, and the alleged inscription is known primarily through historical accounts rather than a surviving artifact that can be examined today. Without the actual stone available for modern testing, historians continue to question both the accuracy of the translation and whether the inscription existed exactly as later accounts described it. And the island's mysterious markings don't stop there. Researchers and treasure hunters have reported unusual stone arrangements, carved crosses, geometric patterns, and other formations that some believe may have been deliberately created. For supporters of the Templar theory, these features are especially intriguing. They argue that certain symbols appear similar to medieval religious imagery and could potentially have functioned as markers or navigational clues for people who understood their meaning. One of the most famous examples is the formation known as Nolan's Cross. Several enormous boulders form a large cross-like arrangement across the island. Some investigators believe the placement was intentional and may have been designed to direct attention toward a particular location. But there is another interpretation. Skeptics argue that the formation could simply be a natural geological arrangement that was given symbolic significance later by people searching for patterns. Then, there are the reported measurements and geometric relationships between different landmarks. Some enthusiasts believe certain alignments resemble principles of sacred geometry associated with medieval architecture and religious construction. Critics, however, warn that patterns can appear almost anywhere when enough points are selected and interpreted through the framework of an existing theory. And that is precisely what makes Oak Island so difficult to solve. The same clue can produce two completely different interpretations. To one observer, a carved stone may look like evidence of a carefully designed secret. To another, it may simply be a natural formation that humans have transformed into something mysterious through imagination and expectation. Until definitive evidence emerges, these symbols remain among Oak Island's biggest unanswered questions, occupying that fascinating space between genuine historical possibility and pure speculation. But if the clues on the surface are intriguing, what lies beneath the island may be even more remarkable. In the next part of our investigation, we'll examine the excavations and scientific research that have brought renewed attention to Oak Island and explore the evidence that continues to challenge even experienced investigators. The final verdict: could Oak Island really hide the Ark? After more than 2 centuries of treasure hunting, countless excavations, and enormous amounts of money spent searching beneath the island, one question still refuses to disappear. Could the Ark of the Covenant actually be buried somewhere on Oak Island? The answer is far more complicated than either side would like. Over the years, investigators have uncovered unusual stone formations, evidence of underground construction, historical artifacts, and other discoveries suggesting that Oak Island has a much more complicated past than early treasure hunters could have imagined. Those discoveries have kept the search alive and encouraged generation after generation to continue looking for answers. But there is a crucial distinction between an intriguing mystery and proven history. To this day, there is no verified archaeological evidence demonstrating that the Ark of the Covenant was ever transported to Oak Island. There are no authenticated ancient inscriptions identifying the island as a hiding place for the Ark. No confirmed artifact directly connects the biblical relic to Nova Scotia. And despite centuries of excavation, the Ark itself has never been discovered. That is where the mystery currently stands. Supporters of the theory argue that the combination of Oak Island's unusual underground structures, the legends surrounding the Knights Templar, and the island's unexplained discoveries is too remarkable to simply dismiss. They believe the most important evidence may still be hidden beneath the island, waiting for a future excavation to reveal what previous generations could not find. Skeptics reach a very different conclusion. Many historians and archaeologists argue that the proposed connection between Oak Island and the Ark relies heavily on folklore, speculation, and interpretations that extend well beyond what the available evidence can actually demonstrate. From their perspective, Oak Island is certainly a genuine historical mystery, but the Ark of the Covenant remains an unproven explanation for it. And perhaps that uncertainty is exactly what makes Oak Island so captivating. It exists somewhere between documented history and enduring legend, between evidence and interpretation, between what we can prove and what we desperately want to believe. For now, the Ark remains missing, Oak Island remains unsolved, and the possibility of a connection between the two remains exactly what it has always been.